Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. It is Wednesday, September the 1st. The year's 2021. Let's talk trading. Monthly open. These videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine. Yes, the monthly open. It wasn't that I forgot yesterday was end of the month. It's just I had Walmart on the line, so I decided to do a video with him. So, since it is the first day of the month, let me just remind you risk management. Don't lose any more on any one single trade than you are willing to lose. Okay? So, I hope everybody had a profitable August, and I wish you a profitable September. So, maybe if you make sure your position size and your stop loss are in line with your risk, you just might have a winning month. So, as you can see here let me switch this over to the month. You can see what happened last month. We broke out of the top, and then we came back down, and we actually closed below the monthly open. But you can see right now, we're right back to the August monthly open. Actually, no, I put it on daily. I'm asleep, obviously. So scratch that. You can see here for the month we went up, it came down. I have to laugh at myself when I do bonehead things like that. So we're pretty much at the monthly close right now, 4 pips above the monthly open or the previous month's close. You can see here the bottom. So we've already gone into that wick zone and we're coming out slightly. And for the week, we've filled all the gaps already. But you can see here the 37.21. We got near the pivot, but didn't quite take it out. On the daily, we put in the opening range for the week, but today we'll put in the opening range for the month. And maybe if we expand that out a bit, and you can see we are 111 pips above the yearly open. And we had an inside bar 3 days ago. You see we've already broken out of both ends of that. So we'll have to see which way to go. So 65 long, 43 short, and we'll just see what happens. We are sitting inside the daily inside bar, the weekly inside bar, and the monthly inside bar. The weekly inside bar was 1 week ago, and the monthly inside bar was 1 month ago. Looking at the daily again, the range, there's just not much range happening. Only 34 on the pound at the moment, and no pairs over 100. And for some of you just tuning in, you might wonder what are these other columns? Well, CLOP is close minus the open. This is the high minus the close minus the low, then the range, then the fib. So in other words, we are at the 75% fib level here on the pound for the day. So this is for today. So we've already retraced 76% off of the bottom, now 77. We have high minus open. So you can see here from the day's high to the open. So if you were trading the buy zone away from the open to the high, it's 11 pips, and open the lows 23. and we haven't hit the daily pivot yet. And you can see here, we came down into the 40 area and launched back up to the 60s. So once again, what I like to call the launch pad paid off. Anytime price gets into the, into the 40s, it seems like price likes to take off to the upside. Of course, it's going to go to the downside some, but when it comes back up, usually on one of those hours, it's just going to launch, and it certainly did. And this column here is close minus the pivot. So range is too low for the rat zone. So here's that daily pivot again, the pivot trading plan. Called for a bullish. Once again, haven't hit the pivot. So for the month of August, 2 missed pivots. And you can see here yesterday's daily candle was mostly wicks. So we've already been in and out of the wick zone, the lower wick zone, and in and out of the upper wick zone. And for those new, price doesn't like to stay in the wick zone. Once it gets in the wick zone, 77% of the time it leaves the wick zone. So nice odds for trading. Well, I shouldn't say odds because that implies probability, but statistically, 77% of the time it leaves the wick zone. Make sure I have to check my language and be a little more precise. Here on the higher low, lower high, right now we're setting up, looking for a reversal. If we get the a black or bearish candle here. Oh, if you wonder why I use white and black, it's because sometimes it's easier to print out and doesn't use up all the color ink. Some people ask me to do it that way. So that's why a lot of my charts look like this, especially if they're going to go into a PDF. Even though on the wall mall chart, it's black, red, and green. I had a trader ask, how do you use these ranges? Well, if you watch the wall mall series videos, I believe I had the smart ranges back then, but I know I've done a couple of videos on the smart ranges. But basically, um, what we're looking at with the smart ranges, let's see, well, yeah, here's one. What we're looking at with the smart ranges is where is price, how far is price ranged, and does it basically have any more gas in the tank from a historical point. So we know certain hours range more than others. There was an indicator because when I started trading with Walmart, he said, well, I trade between these hours. Can you show me the frequency distribution? So, and I've shown that in a few videos too. But on this particular, we've got I think we've got the last 20 hours of ranges here. So it's just after 8 o'clock New York time. And so usually I'll start trading just about this time or maybe 1 hour before. And so I know those ranges on a quote unquote normal day are usually 20 or more pips. So when you're trading with Walmart lines, since they're 10 apart, it's going to cut one or both lines and usually by 3 pips or more. So for example, right now we're at 63, so the price cut across the 60 line. So if you jumped in at there, you're up 3 pips. And that's what we try to make on a trade is, 3 pips is a nice trade. Quick, in and out, no fuss, no muss. And so for example, right now it's at 6 pips. So if I jumped in the trade and it's not showing me any signs of coming back, knowing that this is only 7 or to 21 percentile, I might stay in the trade. But once it gets up to say 60, 70, then I might take money off the table. And you can see here, price has been rejected off of the 65 area a couple of times. So that's once, twice, 3 times a lady. I might want to stay in this trade and say, okay, I'll put my stop loss at break even +1 and see what happens. See if it hits that 65, if it'll run maybe another 5 pips up to 70. All because I know I'm looking at, these two numbers. How many pips and what's the percentile? And, at 21, it's like that's kind of low, especially for 8 o'clock. That's when New York is opening up. So I would think there'd be more traders getting into the action and moving price around a little bit more. But you never know. This is trading. So had I not taken those 3 pips, I'd given about half of them back at the moment. And there's one thing, I'm reading a book called Noise by Daniel Kahneman. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name right, but he also wrote Thinking Fast and Slow. And as I was reading the book, it reminded me of something that I knew before but kind of forgot. And what that is that a simple algorithm will beat a human making decisions. And I read something somewhere else, and I think I attended some free webinar because it wasn't about trading, but it was about thinking and flow, and that's just something that I've always interested me. And what they were saying was decide once, just decide once. So, for example, with the wall mall method, you make your decision once. If it's green at the line, I go long. If it's red at the line, I go short. And you make that decision one time. So now you don't have to decide anymore. When you see that happening, you can get in the trade. Now, Walmart, sometimes he'll say, well, on a 5-minute chart, I want to see it touch once and I'll get in on the second time. And that's usually what he does. So, for example, here, in that last hour, it touched again. So this hour, that first touch, it's like, well, wait a minute, we've already tested it twice. Let's take it. And it would have paid off with a nice, 3 pips. And notice right here was the previous hour's high. It broke through, but then when it came back down, it's like, wait a minute. Once it breaks that line, take your pips. You might get another entry this hour, you might not, but at least you would have been putting some pips in the bank, as he likes to say, or as I like to say, stacking the bricks. So think about that. Just decide once, one time, and then just execute, because what they're saying in the book is, and I think he said it in the other book, and other people are saying, you get brain fatigue, where if you keep having to make decisions. That's why I guess they said Albert Einstein and Steve Jobs, they wore the same outfit every day. They had 7 t-shirts and 7 pairs of pants and 7 pairs of shoes and 7 sport coats, and they were all the same. And I guess Zuckerberg has kind of done the same thing, wearing the same clothes every day for the most part. But in fact, it was really cool. They had a picture of Steve Jobs, and you know what? I'm running out of time. Oh man, time is killing me. So just remember, decide once, because it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. And remember to hit the like button. This is TheRumpledOne over.